Hello and welcome to everyone accompanying us in the newest episode of Pier-to-Pier Podcast, where we bring those who reside within the virtual worlds and the stories and knowledge that they carry. Tonight at the pier with me, I have somebody that I've known for over 6 years. Somebody with a lot to say. And it feels like I repeat myself a lot with every guest saying that everybody has a lot to say. But this one here, right now, somebody has gone through multiple different careers, multiple different experiences, and has helped countless other people discover themselves and truly become better people. Tonight at the pier with me, I have BioAbyssal. So, Bio, welcome to the pier.
Yoshiro, it's a pleasure. It's an honor being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed. Thank you for being here. Now, I want you to begin by introducing yourself to our lovely audience.
Hello, everybody. I'm known as BioAbyssal, and later on, I'll get into how I got that name. But I served quite a few years in the U.S. Navy. I've had 2 to 3 career changes, and I'm a father of 3.
I want to begin by you sharing a little bit of your own life story, because I mean you've gone through quite a lot from what you've told me in the past. I want you to share a little bit about yourself, about your story. Please tell us your story.
So I guess I'll start when I became an adult, because those teenage years are really not that fun. So around 18, 19, I enlisted in the Navy. And originally I wanted to work with computers, but the Navy said no. So I ended up being selected to work as hydraulics and structures, which is the AM for those who want to know. But once I got to my first command, I got picked up for a special program as a flight engineer, unbeknownst to me. So I disappeared for a couple of years and worked on very unique projects with the Navy, which are currently being used right now fleet-wide. And after I got out, I decided to pursue a career in cybersecurity, in which I did. And then while working that, it was a very stressful job. I was known as the office therapist, and I was told I should go ahead and become a therapist. And so I did. And so I went from working on jets to working in the cyber field to working as a mental health professional. And that change, people are going to look at and say, how did you do that? And it's very interesting how it happened. Starting as a teenager, I wanted to work with computers. I was very interested in how the hardware worked. And as it progressed, I learned about networks and the hardware behind it. And like I said, I wanted to join the Navy for it. But my ASVAB said otherwise, or the Navy did, because I qualified for way too many things. But going back to when I went in my first command, I literally got selected based upon my last name, which is related to another test pilot. And because of that, I was selected. I had to go through a bunch of different schools, physicals, training, exams, everything. And so what I worked on is F-18 Growler. I was there during the JSF program, which is at the time the X-35 and X-32 showdown. And so that was very fun. And as it progressed on, I was sent to my next command, which I was given my own shop. I was pretty much done being airborne. I was like, enough's enough. And I was given my own shop. I became an aircraft painter, which sounds mediocre, but it encompasses corrosion control throughout the aircraft. So it's actually pretty critical, and it was really fun. I got to do things with aircraft that most people just take for granted. Um, I did decal work, painting. We tested do paints, all sorts of fun stuff. And then I got out, and immediately I took a break. I was like, I'm done. I need me time. And I was told, go pursue your career, your passion for cybersecurity. So I went to school, went all the way through the ranks, got, all my certifications I could possibly get. That's including, Security Plus, Network Plus, A Plus, CCNA, CCNI, all that fun jazz. And worked a government position for a short time, worked with the government. And in that position, it's extremely, extremely stressful. The job in there, it isn't necessarily, oh, you did wrong, slap on the wrist. It could boil down to assets being stolen, espionage, having to report to Congress, going to jail. It gets crazy. So I was always trying to keep my coworkers together. I was like, hey, it's okay. Just keep to the books, keep the protocol. And if things go awry, you did it by the book. You're fine. And one of my coworkers was like, you should really become a therapist. You're really good at it. And I was mid-bite. I remember what I had, because every Friday we had Chipotle. And I was sitting there mid-bite and about to put the spoon in my mouth, and I stopped. And I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, I'm going to do that. So I literally put my food down, went to my boss's office, which was also my professor who hired me from college. And I said, I want to be a therapist. Oh, actually, I want to go back to college. And he said, sure, because, I'm a vet, currently working there. You want to further your education? We're all for it. So he pulled out the paperwork and said, where do you want to go? I was like, I don't know, but I want to go become a therapist. And he took the paperwork and put it back in his drawer, closed the drawer, and said, excuse me, what? You're one of our best associates here, one of our best team members. What do you mean you want to jump gears? And I said, yeah. So he made it difficult for me. He said, I want to know what college, how much it's going to cost. Basically everything he didn't need to know, he wanted to know. And then asked me to get, all the information. So it took me about 3 weeks. I finally got it, came back to his desk and said, here, this is what. And he couldn't say no, but he wasn't happy by saying yes. So he was like, okay.
He valued you. He saw value in you, and he actually wanted you to be well, not exactly happy, but to reach your fullest potential. I mean, he was hesitant.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
I mean, you were good at what you did. I mean, that I can already tell. But letting you go, I understand his hesitation.
Absolutely. He was like, I can't say no, but I don't want to say yes. So he gave it the stamp of approval and said, are you leaving the team right now? I said, I don't think I'm leaving the team just yet, but it may happen. So he kind of threw his hands in the air and said, well, at least you let me know. When it does happen, give me like a month in advance so I could get someone to fill your seat, because we can't really have too much of a gap for those seats. So he was not very pleased, but he let me do. So I went through that course. I went through years of it. At first, I was just like curious, and I was like, sure, I'll try it out. And then it went to going to another year, and then another campus, and then more studies, and then basically focusing down to what I wanted to do. Because if you don't know therapy, you're just going to be like, therapy, it's the cure-all. and you don't know exactly specifically what you need to do or where to focus on or the correct things to look for. So it just kept narrowing down. And I found myself more intrigued by it. What I was doing before, it was just kind of putting out small fires at the office. It wasn't therapy at all. It was just people were frazzled. I'm like, keep it together. You're going home in 3 hours. It's fine. And they would kind of push through. And so I wasn't really a therapist in the office. I was more like a fireman, just keeping the fires out. So
Just keeping things contained.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I finally got to, my post-grad, I was like, this is what I want to do because it's very rewarding. And I found it therapeutic to myself too, by helping others. And how I found myself in VRC is when I went to Rec Room. And I believe, if I may, I believe that's where we met initially, in Rec Room. And as we know at the time, Rec Room, it was like the Wild West. It was everybody free for all, kids screaming, someone in the corner having a panic attack, someone having an anxiety breakdown, just crazy. And so at the time, I didn't know much. I was just going from room to room to room. And sometimes you see people having fun, and others, you could potentially hear someone crying in the corner. And it was on this chance that I found a few people crying in the corner. And I tried to help them through and became more than just a friend, but a counselor, a therapist, a father figure, someone to fall back on and kind of keep things together. And as you explained before, I've helped people. I've been their conscious. I've been that father figure that said, that's not a good idea. Don't do it. Because they would have otherwise. I was that person that picked up 4:00 in the morning phone calls. I was that person that stayed on call for an hour and a half while the other person was just having a panic attack just to have someone there. So it wasn't to be weird. It was just to know that there was someone there who cared enough that you mattered. And it just developed from there. So I took professional and leisure and kind of smushed them together a little bit. And it worked pretty well. There are always naysayers that say, you can't do that. And when you try to argue with them, you get nowhere. You just, you could be screaming at a wall. It's the same difference. I found a lot of satisfaction helping people. And those chances where I can't help someone, I have to pass the buck off to someone who can, because virtual, I guess you would say, counseling or therapy only goes so far. Sometimes you need a person to be in front of another person, or perhaps I can't be available as frequent as they would like, so I would have to pass the buck. So sometimes I would have to do research on my own end to figure out where they're at, who's available, can I schedule them? But there's a lot of red tape. I can't just call up a local, psychologist or psychiatrist and be like, XYZ needs such and such. And who are you? And the moment I give that away, I could get myself in some hot water. So I would kind of have to tell them, I'm at the end of my rope with what I can do with the resources I have. I believe it'd be best if you find someone in person that could help you better than me, because there's a time difference or scheduling problem or something to that nature. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, that's that's a great idea. I feel comfortable with a therapist or a counselor now. I can go and do that. So yeah, that's I guess a short and skinny, but I'm open to any questions you have, any more specifics or details.
What I want to do is I want to focus on each chapter to try to understand a little bit about what you liked about each and every one. For example, I want to begin as you in your career as a flight engineer for the Navy.
Yeah.
This was a position that you joined the Navy. You wanted to do something with technology. You wanted something that you could just like poke around, mess about with technology. Because even till this day, I know you're really, really big into tech.
Yeah.
I've seen your phones. I've seen your multiple phones, your equipment. I know you really like your technology. And they put you as flight engineer. It wasn't something you picked. Was this
Not
something that they
necessarily.
put you in?
I didn't even know the program existed, to be completely fair. When I joined, so I went to boot camp, finished, went to my A school, went to my C school, then picked the orders, and I went to my first command, which was in Maryland. And I got there, and a 19-year-old kid, you look around and you're like, ooh, fighter jets. You're just overwhelmed. You're like, I get to work on these. People trust me to do work. And so I was in this place, I would say maybe a 30-foot by 30-foot building. It's called the Line Shack. It's where all the younglings go to learn the ins and outs of the aircraft, to launch, recover, maintain, stuff like that. And I was in there. And I was in a joint branch command. So I had Navy and Marines with me. At the time, my CO was a colonel. And he came down, of course, we called attention on deck. And he's like, as you were. And so we all sit back down and we're just like wondering what the CO wants. All right. He's like, I need a volunteer. And all of us are like, nope, I'm not going to be the coffee boy. We're not doing that. And he goes, he puts his hand on my shoulder, spins me around, looks at my name tape, and goes, Jaeger. Any relation to the test pilot? I said, yes, sir. He said, great, with me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be the newspaper boy. I'm getting his newspaper and coffee for the morning for the rest of my life. Like, there goes my career. And I said, sir, may I ask what's going on? He's like, just a moment. Can I see your flight line badge? So I pulled up my flight line badge. And he looks at it. He goes, we need to get this fixed. In short, my clearance had to get bumped up. And then he was able to tell me more. I can't get too far into it, but my clearance got bumped up. And then he goes, you're getting orders to go to training. And I'm like, what training? Like, I thought I did all I needed to do already. He goes, oh no, you'll get filled in before you leave. And so right before I left, he goes, you've been selected for a special program to be a flight engineer. If you pass everything and you come back, you not only do you get to work on them, but you get to fly in them. Now I was excited. I was like, I get to do what? Every kid's dream to be
You got excited. You're just happy and jolly. Like,
yeah,
I can work on planes and fly the planes, and that's gonna be.
Yeah. As a 19-year-old kid, I don't know how many young boys or young women ever think about being in a fighter jet. And as an officer, you have that opportunity, but that requires you to become or have a bachelor's degree and go through OCS and a bunch of other stuff and get selected for it. Me, by chance, because of my name, I got selected for it, which was the coolest thing. And I'm giddy, I'm happy, I'm excited, and I'm scared shitless because
as you should.
I don't know what's around the corner. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the schools are. I don't know who's in the school. I don't know anything. I don't know if I'm going to be the youngest, I'm going to be the tallest. I'm going to be the dumbest. I don't know. I don't know anything. It's like being blindfolded, driven 300 miles out, spun in circles, and then told 2 minutes later, take your blindfold off and find your way home. And that was it. So literally flying by the seat of my pants, no pun intended, I made it all the way through. With some apprehension because of my height. I'm so tall. I'm 6.5 feet tall, and there's a cutoff to be in a fighter jet. And so I'm thinking to myself, even if I make it and this slipped through the cracks, I might get this disqualified anyway. And no, I was a backseater, so I was fine. It was cramped. Very cramped. Turbulence sucked. Normal person, bouncing in seat. Me, helmet hitting canopy, not fun. And then try to look down and get some extra room out. So yeah, that was fun. What we did, or what I did with the command, is we tested new technologies, new ideas, new weapon systems, new weapons, guidance systems, propulsion systems, basically anything new we tested. And in conjunction, it was a test evaluation squadron. So we tested all sorts of fun stuff. Stuff that you would think, that's not right, that can't happen. You'd be surprised what humans think of and how they come to fruition. It's amazing. And yeah, so I spent my first 5 years there. Had a blast. So to come back on this name, BioAbyssal, that was very fun. So my first flight, I went up and I had a massive nosebleed. I'm talking about looking like Mike Tyson just put my face in, and I'm just pouring blood out. I have my O2 mask on, and it's pouring blood inside. And I'm yelling at the pilot. I'm like, I don't know what to do, because we're not really trained for that. Like a little nosebleed, not too bad. But this was like pouring out. And I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe I had a hemorrhage in my head or something catastrophic. So we came back, and it was bad because I was met with the flight surgeon out there, medical was out there, you know, a bunch of people from my shop were out there, and it was kind of scary. I wasn't too scared. I was a little lightheaded, but I wasn't scared. So, you don't give yourself a call sign. Usually call signs are given to you because of circumstances. And mine happened to be a nosebleed. So you think it'd be nosebleed. No, it was biohazard. My first call sign was biohazard. Because I bled everywhere. It was bad. I got yelled at. They're more concerned about me, but I still got yelled at. So my call sign for the longest time was biohazard, which was kind of cool, kind of edgy.
Depends on how you look at it, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I've known some pilots, you know, that have a call sign Kodak, because they like to take pictures. I had another one, we called him Bottle Cap, because he lost a Gatorade bottle cap in the cockpit. So his nickname was Bottle Cap. Yeah. And there was one that I had, his name was Mud Butt. I'm not going to get into it. You can only use your imagination. So,
Mud butt. I
butt.
don't need context. Audience doesn't need context. I think we all get it.
We all get it. So you don't assign yourself a call sign. You're given one, and for good reason. So I was biohazard for the longest time, and then I had to go to some extra schooling, some extra courses, and I went there. It was fun. It was mandatory, but it was a joint foreign affairs type thing. We had people from like Norway, we had people from Italy, we had people from Spain, we had people from Australia. It was from everywhere. It was really, really cool. And one of the exercises we had is we had to clear a floor, an office building floor. Like we had an intruder, something bad happened, and you had to get you and as many people out safely while neutralizing the target. And so most of my peers were under 6 feet. And you can only imagine this office building with partitions, office partitions. So you would kind of have to sneak around and make sure your adversary, rival, enemy, whatever you want to call them, are not hiding, or you have to find someone and get them going with you. So you're hunched over, taking kind of cover behind these partitions. And everyone's doing a good job. Fine. I mean, we've done this before. But there comes me. 6.5 foot tall, lanky person. So, and the office building is not well lit. It's kind of poorly lit, like emergency lights. And I'm sneaking around. And I did everything well. I passed. Everything was fine. When we get back, I get back with the group. I was the last one because my last name. I get back with the group. And the guy next to me was from Norway. And he giggled. And I was like, what's so funny? He's like, you look like something from our Nordic or Norwegian folklore. And I said, what's that? He's like, you look like an abyssal night stalker. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but thank you, I guess. He's like, well, because your back was so highly arched while you're trying to bend over to hide behind the partitions, you look like something like a skin crawler or something, just like some type of creepypasta, just, trying to sneak through these.
I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult at that point.
Exactly, right? So I'm just like, thanks, I guess. Like, I don't know what to make of it. And the instructor comes over. He's like, what are you guys talking about? And I'm like, he called me some type of abyssal something. I don't know. And he explained it. But I don't think the instructor was thinking or listening clearly, because his reply was, that's not his name. His call sign is Biohazard. Like, it just went right over his head. And then he stopped and went, wait, biohazard, BioAbyssal. That sounds better. That's going to be your new call sign. And I was like,
out of the blue, they just change your call sign like that.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay. I don't think it's going to stick, but sure. And throughout the rest of the course, it stuck. So people just called me Bio for short. And it stuck. And so I got a new nameplate. It basically tells me, name, call sign, rank.
But did you like your new name? Like,
I did.
Going from Biohazard to BioAbyssal, did you prefer BioAbyssal?
I did. It felt fresh. It felt unique. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I just left it. And then I got a new name thing, a new plate for my jacket. And when I went back to my command, they looked at it and they're like, wait, it's supposed to, Biohazard. And now it says Bio Abyssal. And I was like, yeah. Do you like it? Yeah. You want to keep it? Yeah. All right. And then it just stuck. So, yeah.
It's stuck to the point that it's now your online name. It's what people call you in online worlds, in VR, and everywhere.
The VR, my old colleagues know me as, much like how you know me as Bio. My many of my games I play, I use the same name because, I'm so original. It's just what comes ahead, just like there. It's not going to be, well known. So might as well just throw it down. And yeah, so my Navy career was fun. We had some shenanigans. We had a lot of shenanigans. My second command, especially, we had a ton of shenanigans. A lot of goofy stuff. Stuff that you would think we would get, in huge trouble for. But it kind of goes with the territory. The pranks, the humor, the camaraderie, and it goes with the territory. And the transition out was kind of tough. I got selected, so I'm not going to get political by any means, but there was a time not too long ago that a president thought downsizing our military was a great idea. And it was a random lottery. And I got selected for that random lottery. Never really got to do cyber warfare or cryptology directly as a sailor, but I got to do it indirectly as a contractor, which is really fun.
So you got selected and you got taken off the Navy, right?
Yeah, so I got to my end of my second enlistment, and they basically said, "Hey, you got selected for," and I'm thinking, I got selected, and they're like, to get out, and I was like, yeah, thanks, I guess. So yeah, I got out.
So afterwards, what was the next step for BioAbyssal?
I flew drones a little bit for up and coming companies since I had some experience in that field, in mechanical stuff and flying things, but it never really panned out. And then when I got out, shortly after I got married, my wife was still active duty. I got out, and it was very fun. It was cool because I still got to see the progression of technology that I put effort into for the fleet progress. So I got married, moved, and worked odd jobs. Worked as a IT director for a short bit, for a short little mom and pop shop. So I say director, it sounds big. It really wasn't. I was all the positions. So I like to take the biggest one there. So about 2.5 years after the marriage, I decided I need to get my career going again. It was something. So I went to college for cybersecurity with a concentration in forensics. So data retrieval, network penetration testing, all that fun stuff. And stuff no one really thinks about when it comes to IT. They think my keyboard doesn't work, my screen doesn't turn on, my login doesn't work. I was the guy who, this computer has such and such data, but it's encrypted. Can we break the encryption to see what it is? Or law enforcement. So I went in for that, and then they just shifted in another direction. It went into network hardening. It went into data tracing. It went into stuff I can't get too detailed into, but it gets into stuff where a CEH would have to come into play. If for those viewers and for those people who knew what CEH certification is, you are the creme de la creme of the cyber, I guess you could say, profession. And that's a certified ethical hacker. And that's some cool stuff. That's where white hats and black hats get at it. And so, yeah, I went into college, got picked up by my professor for a short bit, worked there. It was kind of crazy because I wasn't expecting to be picked up right off campus. He was like, I work at this agency. We're hiring. You're my top student. You want a job? So I was like, yeah. He's like, give me an application for formality, or give me a resume for formality. And I need you to show up next week for an interview. And I'm interviewing you. Okay. So that's how that started. And when I went in there, it was really cool. I can't give too much detail, but I don't know if you've seen the TV show 24.
I have, yes.
Yes, so it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. You have a bunch of people working on computers. Computers, obviously, doing fast-paced stuff, real-time stuff. Different teams doing different things, and someone up in a fishbowl watching over everything. And it's really effing cool. I was a fan of 24. I still am. And never thought such a thing was real. And when I went to the office, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, yeah, I'm excited.
Getting giddy again.
Yeah. But the employees there, the contractors there, some of them super chill. They just get on with their, day. Others, you can see the panic, you can see the anxiety, you can see the tension in their face when they're trying to get stuff done. And it's like a matter of seconds is critical. And it's scary. It's anxiety inducing when you see someone doing something that could potentially lead to a matter of national security, and you just start to freak out a bit. And my job, again, I can't get too far involved with it, but it played a big role in defense. And we had a really pretty lunchroom, like as nice as you could get for an office space, of course. But we got catering every so often, and when we did, we picked out. You couldn't get like the whole office to clear out. It was like 2 or 3 people, and it wasn't like you had specific times that you could go on lunch. It'd be like your boss and come over with like, you want to take lunch now or in about an hour? And so he would pick 2 or 3 people off the floor and send them back to eat. You'd come back and just rotate through everybody. I'm not gonna say I miss that position, but it was very exciting because like my first month there was like I'm living my favorite TV show, even though it wasn't. It just the feel of it,
right? Because reality is dull. Reality ain't a TV show, but hey, at least there were some things from the show that were at least part of the job. There were like some things that did connect.
The oh shit situations hit harder than TV because it wasn't like turn off, I'm done. It's like, where's the remote? This can't move fast enough, and this is really happening. All hands on deck. We need this taken care of. So it was so fun, but it takes a toll on you. It really does. If you don't work under pressure well, you're going to cook. You're done. So yeah, that's where I became that in-house fireman. I was keeping people together. It's okay, just keep by the books. Some had books to go by. Others did not. And for those, I'd be like, just give it your best. You're the best of the best. That's why you're here. You do what you do. Just continue kicking ass, And for others, I would have one or two folks that would come in, and your head has to be in the game. I'd have folks that would be like, my dog died. And I want to be sincerely empathetic and be like, I'm really sorry your dog passed away. But in the back of my head, I want to be like, ... But you have to be focused here. You have to do this. I'm sorry your dog died. I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but we really need you here. It's important.
It's time critical. You can't make mistakes. You gotta be focused on what you do, because it's you're dealing with highly classified information, and you're dealing with things that need to be done in the moment. Emotion can play
Absolutely.
a part. I understand. I totally understand.
Yeah, very sensitive things, time critical, decision making on the fly, like things that you would be like, that needs to go up the chain or to my supervisor. No. There's no time. If you are walking up that stairs to ask your supervisor what you've already failed. Like, you got to make that executive decision now and then explain later. And hopefully you're right. So yeah. And then on to psychology. I've always found it intriguing. Never took in high school because I always thought it was super nerdy. And it was just intriguing. And I just kept going. I could have stopped at any time, but I just kept going and going and going. And then I found myself where I am today, just kind of helping people out and giving the best mechanics, methods, and perhaps even advice, I think would help an individual. And I base that off of what I've been through, wisdom, books, and anything and everything, and just kind of give you the best package to move forward. Sometimes people are hung up on death, passing in the family, and I get it. It's devastating. It's traumatic. I get it. And each person is a case-to-case basis. You have to get to know the person before you can start helping them, because it's never a one-size-fits-all method. You can't just be like, let me open up the page 382, chapter 20, paragraph 2 says do this. It's not like that. It never is. Those books are for the physician or the doctor to read through and go, can I apply this? Does this work? How is the person? What's their past like? That's why I'm sure you've always heard on TV shows that are somewhat accurate. They ask, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your past. Tell me about your upbringing. You hear that type of stuff. And we use that to start drawing the baseline to see how things match up and what we can apply, what works, what doesn't, etc. Psychology is taxing, mentally taxing. Working with people can be difficult at times. You have folks that genuinely want the help, and they make life pretty easy. And then you get the folks that want the attention that make life difficult. I've received everything from A to Z and in between. And it becomes taxing because you can't just be like, you're fake, get out. No, can't do that. We can't be crude. We can't be rude. We just kind of have to go with them. And sometimes they buckle under the pressure of trying to keep this facade up for so long. They're just like, obviously you see through me, but you're still let me, walk this. I've had 2 that I can remember off the top of my head that did that. And I go, yeah, I did. And they're just like, why didn't you stop me? It's not my place to stop you. You have something you want to tell me. And we get through it. And we find a meaningful resolution to it. Sometimes people just need someone to be there, someone to talk to, someone that's unbiased. And others need actual help. Bad upbringings, trauma, TBI, traumatic brain injury, can feed into that. There's so many things. Substance abuse, but I'm not gonna get too far into it.
No, but interesting you mentioned that. But last week's episode, we actually had somebody here who was had behavioral issues. Somebody that in their youth had behavioral issues and were sent to a residential treatment center. And the one thing that they said about mental health is that sometimes what it takes, same thing you said, it just takes somebody to be there. Somebody to talk to, somebody to connect to. Not everybody needs somebody to be there. Everybody's different. But at the same time, it's just the intention that counts and can actually help somebody. But every case is different. Every case is different. Not 2 cases are alike. So what helps for one person doesn't necessarily help with another. And you confirm that. There are people who want the help, but there are people who don't. You see, I want to ask you about your time. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna finish this real quick. I want to know about your time doing counseling here in VR, because in VR you've been able to meet a heck of a lot more people. Before that, I want to know about your VR journey, like what got you into VR as a whole. But before all that, I want you to finish your current statement.
Yeah, with people, I have had folks that just go, my life sucks. It just very vaguely. And there's not much you can get from that. Obviously, they're discontent to some extent, but there's no context, there's no direction, there's nothing. It's just a one-hit statement. Or others come in. I've had individuals that come in which make me giggle inside. I can't laugh at them. It's very unprofessional. But I've had clients come in and say, Doc, I have this. And they show me the research that they've done. A printed out thing. I'm not going to get into it, but I have this and this and this and this. And it says the best course of action is medication. So I need you to prescribe me this. And I said, that's wonderful. You did research. 2 things. That's self-confirmation bias research, first off, because you're confirming, what you read with what you feel, and it may not be the real thing. And number 2, I can't prescribe anything to you. Okay. So as a psychologist, we don't prescribe. As a psychiatrist, you can. As a psychologist, you cannot. So I tell them, I'm like, this is great. I could use some of this to kind of speed run things a bit. But, and then, of course, we'll get the ones that go, you don't know who I am, this, that, and the other. You're right. I don't know. That's why you're here. And then you get the other ones that go, I just really need help. Like, I've done all this. And if I'm wrong, please help me. So it's the full scope, the full gambit of people. Now, what led me to VR? Lovely. I just moved East Coast again, and Quest 1 was about to drop. I knew nothing of VR other than it existed. That was it. And I was thumbing through my phone, and it said you could pre-order the Quest 1. And I was like, oh, VR for the masses? Really? I can? And I was just like that meme. It's like, shut up, take my money. You know, like yeah, I was just like, here it is. And so I got it, and it came in. And surprisingly, Rec Room and the social platforms were not the first games I played. I think the first one I played was something about nature, and then a roller coaster one, which was really cool. And Rec Room popped up, free, social, build, play. I was like, sure. And I got in there. And of course, you get to your dorm room, and you're like, this is it. I got mittens. I got a floating body and a weird looking head. Like, this is it. This is VR. So I went out the door. You probably know, your dorm room to Rec Room or Rec Center. I went in there and I saw people. So I got to playing around, paintball, dodgeball, messed around. And yeah, soon enough, I met a few friends, yourself as well, and just went from room to room. And I met, like I said before, some individuals. You get the kids that are in there, they're just screaming, which I'm sure happens here. And then you get the ones, yeah, you just scream and run across the screen. You get the ones who just socialize and play, and then there are the ones that come on to just try to find comfort, someone to listen to their woes. And it's not like I'm seeking them, but you can kind of tell by the posture, a slumped head, away from groups of people, crying, perhaps coming through the microphone, a very soft, mousy voice, etc. And so from there, I met a couple of people, and I asked them, "How's your day?" And they're just, "It's horrible. I'm trying to keep it vague. I don't want to call anybody out. Rough day at school. I'm getting bullied. Home issues, etc." And so I said, "Look, if you need someone to talk to, we can either stay here and talk, go back to the dorm, whatever. You just need someone to talk to. That's cool." And they're just like, "I have panic attacks." Okay. We talk things through, and they're just like, "When will you be on next?" I said, "Honestly, I don't know." At the time, I was a pretty new father. My son was like 2 or 3 at the time. I said, "I don't know. Whenever I have free time, I can come on. But, I got diapers to change and a mouth to feed and, stuff like that." And, "Oh, can I get your Discord?" Yeah, sure. Okay. And there'll be times where it's like, I really need help. They're sitting there typing away. I'm having a panic attack. I'm getting bullied. Da 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 da. And I kind of keep them grounded, leveled, keeping them, I hate to say this, but not focused on what's hurting them, but more looking at other things. Some of the issues we have in society is that we have this wonderful tendency to look and stare and fester at the negativity in society. We thrive on it, but we get so caught up in it that it becomes engrossing and depressing that we forget to look at the other side of the coin, where things are pretty and nice and happy, and we don't really balance it too well. We tend to focus on so much of the negativity and the hurt, and sometimes we don't even have the hurt, but because we're surrounded by it and the environment, we just become part of it. And that's the part that I think VR can have on both sides. You can have a really good group of friends to have fun and socialize and watch movies and et cetera, or you could have the pod. And I'm not trying to call any group out, but we know it exists. That just the woe is me, the full-on emotional gambit of I don't like where I'm at, I hate this, everything sucks. You kind of get where I'm coming from. The emotional group of the more stressing side. So I have found good success in helping people look this way. Not because I want to blind them, not because I want to say, don't look, it's not good for you. It's because sometimes they forget to look at the other side of the coin, that sometimes there's better over there, and it's not just all doom and gloom.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut it short because we have ran out of time. But before we leave, I want to ask you two things. First off, I want you to give our lovely audience some closing words from your perspective. I want you to close this chapter and finish it with a tight bow on it. You know, like a present. Put a bow on it. Just, I want you to keep it brief, but whatever you want to say to our audience, go for it.
If you have an opportunity to choose peace over other outcomes, choose that instead. Reacting with a knee-jerk reaction can sometimes result in unfavorable outcomes. Give thought to what you do before you do it. Much of us like to live in the world of instant gratification. So that's action reaction. But sometimes that's not always necessary for life to be happy. And much of our problems sometimes come from unthoughtful actions that we later regret and feel ashamed of after the fact. And that ends up impacting you and how you see yourself. So slow down a bit. Think about what you do before you do it. Enjoy life. Remember, we can get through anything. I mean, humans are millions of years old. We've faced everything. What you have going on, you're not alone, but you'll get through it. And just keep moving forward. You may not see success and immediate action in 1 hour or 1 day or 1 week. But as long as you keep your head up and move forward, you'll get there.
And final question, and this is the one that we ask everybody that comes here at the Pier. You know, this is a VR podcast, and we always want to motivate others to get themselves in VR, in the technology, invested in it. Unfortunately, due to recent circumstances in the VR market, we've seen the shutdown of several VR platforms like Rec Room, the one where we actually met, is now long gone. And it's sad, because I really like VR as a platform, especially social VR as a way to meet others that might not be in a regular circle. You know, people from around the world, from different places, from different backgrounds. So to that person that is still hesitant to get VR, I want you to talk directly to that person that is still thinking about it. If you could talk to that person who's still hesitant about getting VR, what would you tell them?
VR is fun. It is. It takes you to places you can't normally visit or at all visit. It's a great place with great people. It's a great place with great stories. It's a great place that you can live in for a short period of time. Don't make it your life. Be careful who's there. Be cautious of who you meet. But be honest and be cautious and have fun. Depending where you want to go, there's games to enjoy. I would say start there before jumping into the social aspect if you feel that it will be unsafe for you.
Well, again, thank you for being here, BioAbyssal, with us. Thank you for sharing your time. And to our lovely, lovely audience that tunes in every week, thank you again for watching another episode of Peer-to-Peer Podcast, where we bring those who reside within the virtual world to share the stories and the knowledge that they carry. May you all have a wonderful rest of your day.